Okay, this is the second part to section 9-5. Simplify each complex fraction. So here's example 1. Also, I'd like to state that in your book, it is not stating the restrictions, so we're not going to do that. So if you look in the back of the book and you don't see your restrictions, it's okay. So we're not going to do those in this video. Okay, let's get started here. So you got 1 divided by x divided by 2 divided by y. So this right here, okay, let me try that. So this right here is your division bar for the complex fraction. So you've got this fraction divided by this fraction. So the way we divide by fractions is we multiply by the reciprocal. So then we've got 1 over x, this remains the same, okay, times, and then I'm going to flip this second fraction. So then that's going to be y over 2. And then we're just going to see if anything can cancel. Can't, so we're going to multiply. So we got y divided by 2x. And that is our answer. Right there. Okay, now I also want to point out something. When your fractions are like this, there is a nice little shortcut. Okay, so what you can do, what's really happening is you're multiplying these two right here, so that's y divided by, and then you multiply these two right there, and that's your denominator. So that's a quick check to see if you did that correctly. Now that only works when your fractions are very simple like that. Okay, here's example 2. So we have this fraction divided by this fraction here, as you can clearly see. So it's 1 over x plus 3 over 1. Let's make this into a fraction so that we can see both the numerator and the denominator. We need to get a common denominator for here. Okay, so then my common denominator here is going to be x, so I need the x over here, so we multiply by x. And then we just double check and make sure that we have x and 1 times x, so that's x. So then we're going to say equals, I'm going to just work off of here. I'm just working on my numerator. So then I've got 1 plus, and I'm going to do 3 times x, and that's 3x, divided by my same denominator of x. Okay, so then that's that answer there. Then this is my division bar. Now I'm going to do the same thing here. This is 4. Make it over 1 so that I can see the top and the bottom clearly. The common denominator is going to be y, so I'm going to multiply by y on both of those terms. Okay, and do the same thing. So I've got 5 because this is y and this is y. Double check to make sure you have a common denominator. So then this is 5, and then plus 4 times y. So that's 4y divided by the common denominator of y. Okay, so now we have this is my numerator divided by this is my denominator. Okay, but this is a fraction, so when we divide by fractions we have to multiply by the reciprocal. So we leave our top fraction just the way it is. So we got 1 plus 3x divided by x times, we're going to flip this, so this is y divided by 5 plus 4y. Now you're going to see that there's going to be different steps that you take in order to put down your most simplified answer. As I can see here, I've got all of these terms are different. None of them are going to combine. So I'm going to leave it as y times this quantity, because it's 2 terms, 1 plus 3x. I'm going to leave it like that. Divided by, same idea here, x times this quantity, because there's nothing that can combine. So I'm just going to leave it as a quantity multiplied by this x here. So this quantity 5 plus 4y. Because if I distribute this through, then I would eventually just factor out the y again anyway. So this is the most simplified answer. Okay, you may not find this in the back of your book, but this is the answer that I will be looking for in class. Okay, here's example 3. This one's a little more complex, and so let's take a look at this. Again, we're going to find a common denominator. So this is x and y squared would be my common denominator here. So I am missing a y multiplied over here, and that would give me x times y squared. That will give me my denominator there. So I am missing the x over here. Double check, xy squared, xy squared. Okay, so we're good to go there. So then we are going to come off of here, and we're going to multiply. So this is y times 1. So that's going to be y. I'm just take care of my numerator up there. Negative 1 times x, and that's going to give me a minus x there. And then divided by my same denominator of xy squared. And then here's my big fraction bar. And then I'm going to do the same thing down here. I have to get a common denominator. So this time I have x squared y. So I've got xy squared. So I need a y here. And now I'll have x squared y squared. And I need x squared y squared over here. So I need to multiply by an additional x. And that will give me x squared y squared. Because remember, when you multiply, you add your exponents. There's a little one here, and there's a little one here, so that gives you x squared. Okay, so now I've got the common denominator, and I'm going to do my numerator. So y times 1 is y. Sorry about that. So y. And then minus 1 times x is a negative x divided by my common denominator of x squared, y squared. Okay, so again, I'm dividing by a fraction, so I need to multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to leave the top fraction by itself, or I'm going to leave it alone, so I'm going to just write that down. So y minus x over xy squared times, flip this, x squared y squared divided by y minus x. And you can see that these cancel out nicely. This is completely the same binomial there. And then I can reduce here as well. So I can take this x and I can make this go to an x there, and these y squareds will completely cancel out. So then my final answer is just x. Now these go into each other 1 time, so you can put the 1's up there, and then 1 times x is x, and that's my final answer. Okay, here's example 4. Let's take a look at this. So let's make this over 1 first so we can see a fraction out of that. You can see that your common denominator is going to be x minus 2. So we're going to multiply by x minus 2 here over x minus 2 here. If I multiply by x minus 2 on the denominator, I have to do it on the numerator to balance it out. So then I have here, it's a good idea to put this in parentheses so that you remember to distribute. Okay, so you've got your 3. Now this is a negative 5 distributed, remember, so it's negative 5 times x and negative 5 times negative 2. Common error there all the time. Watch out for that, please. So negative 5x and plus 10. And then divided by my common denominator, which is x minus 2, make sure you check that out for yourself. So that's x minus 2 there. Okay? All right, now since I don't have enough room to make a simplification, I'll do it down here. So then I'll just do the bottom. So I'll simplify that in a moment. So then I've got 2 over 1, make that into a fraction. And again, I'm going to go to common denominator. I need an x minus 2 and an x minus 2. So I'm going to distribute a 2 to both of those terms right there. So 2 times x is 2x. 2 times a negative 2 is a negative 4, minus 4, divided by x minus 2. Okay, so then I have a fraction divided by another fraction, so I need to flip this. Okay, so now I'm going to actually put these together when I write that down here. So I'm going to put combine like terms. So I've got 3 plus 10, which is 13, minus 5x divided by x minus 2, times, flip this, so this is going to bring that up, so that's x minus 2, and I'm going to combine like terms here, so that's 2x minus 8. So combine these two right here. So then that's 2x minus 8 equals, so now I have, I can cancel these out very nicely. This is a factor right there. Okay, so there you go. And then what I have left there is 13 minus 5x divided by, and I just have 2x minus 8, but I can factor out that 2. So I'm going to factor out the 2. Anytime I can factor on the numerator, the denominator, I'm going to do that to simplify even further. Factor out your 2, and you get x minus 4. And then that's your final answer right there. Okay, now let's take a look at this. See how this denominator here is x minus 2, and this denominator here is x minus 2? So basically they're going to cancel out because this one's going to come on top here. So if you see that right away, that is a nice little shortcut because they will cancel out. Then you just have this right here, 13 minus 5x, and then this is your 2 times the quantity x minus 4 once you do that piece. So you would see that that's 2x minus 8. Factor out the 2 and you can get that right away. So if you see that, sometimes that will happen, so you can go ahead and just cancel that out right away. Okay, so this is the last example here, example 5. This one's a little bit more complex, as you can see. So let's go through this. Again, you have your, I did your blue fraction bar there. I should have did that before, but I didn't. So here we go. X and x plus 1. So we need to get the common denominator. This is going to be x plus 1 over x plus 1 there. And then over here we need the x. So we need to multiply by x there. Alright, now this is x plus 1 times the quantity x minus 2. And x plus 1 times x. You can put these in parentheses. It helps us to remember what to do there. Now this is a quantity times a quantity. So we need to FOIL. That's right, FOIL. Okay, so we're going to FOIL that out. Alright, so hopefully let's see if we can fit this here. So if I FOIL this, then I have x times x is going to give me x squared, a negative 2x, and plus x. So negative 2x plus x, and then a negative 2. Then I have a negative 2 times x, so that's negative 2x. There's my numerator. And then divided by my denominator, which is x times that quantity. So I'm going to leave it in that form. Okay. So I will reduce everything once I'm done with that fraction there. Okay, so I'm just going to make this my fraction bar as green, I guess. Okay, so then here I have a common denominator of these two. So I've got times x plus 1 over x plus 1. Put that in parentheses again so you remember to distribute, times x minus 1 over here. Okay, so I need to distribute this through. So I'm going to distribute my 3 to the x and my 3 to the 1. So then I'm going to get 3x plus 3, and then this is negative 1 times x, which is a negative x, and a negative 1 times a negative 1, because this negative 1 is being distributed. Okay, it's a negative 1 that's being distributed. So then I've got plus 1 there. That's where you're going to make your common error, so watch out. Then you get x plus 1 quantity, x minus 1. Okay. And like we did with the shortcut on the last one, this is the denominator, so look, this can cancel out already. And so we don't even have to write that. But let's simplify up top here. So we got x squared. So I've got x squared, I got a negative 2x plus x and a negative 2x. So that's going to be a negative 4x plus x. So that's x squared minus 3x minus 2. That's what I have there. Divided by x, because you saw the shortcut right here, that x plus 1. If you don't see that when you multiply by the reciprocal, that's what you'll see there. We're going to multiply by the reciprocal here. So this is going to just be x minus 1 on top, because you can see if that was x plus 1 here, x plus 1 here, they would cancel out. So that's why that's a nice little feature there. And then let's combine like terms here. So I've got 3x minus x, that's going to give me a 2x, and then 3 plus 1 is 4. Okay, so up at the top here, I've got a trinomial times a binomial. So I need to distribute all of this through. So I'm going to take my x squared and I'm going to multiply by x. That's going to give me an x cubed. I'm going to take my x squared and multiply by a negative 1, and that's going to give me a negative x squared. Then I'm going to take this term and multiply through. So I got negative 3x times x. So that's going to give me a negative 3x squared. And I've got a negative 3x times a negative 1, and that's going to give me a positive 3x. Then my last terms, I have a negative 2 times x. That's going to give me a negative 2x. And a negative 2 times a negative 1 gives me a positive 2. Divided by x times 2x plus 4. Okay, so this is an x here. Alright, so let's simplify the top. So I got equals. So I've got x cubed. I've got a negative x squared, a minus 3x squared, because that's a negative 4x squared. And then I've got 3x minus 2x, which is an x, and then plus 2. Divided by, there's my x. I can factor out a 2 here. So this is 2 times the quantity x plus 2, but times this x. So the final answer there for my denominator is 2x times the quantity x plus 2. And there's my final answer.